Little did they know, the captain wasn't giving an inch, flat out saying if the guns didn't arrive, not only was the deal off, but they'd also be virtually blacklisted from the Arms Dealers Club. Faced with such a money-blocking threat, the duo hopped on a plane to Jordan faster than you can say oops, only to find out the shipping permits were mysteriously expired. Renewing them would take at least 6 weeks, and as soon as Fat Dragon heard, he chuckled and whipped out the cash. If money can solve a problem, talking is just wasting breath. But this guy turned out to be a straight shooter, not sending the guns directly to Iraq. Instead, he rolled out 5,000 handguns and even arranged for a pro driver to help them out. So, the two guys who were once sitting at their computers flipping goods were now taking a ride on the military shipping express into extremely dangerous Iraq. They thought nighttime would bring safety. Oh, how wrong. They didn't anticipate encountering a military checkpoint, but fortunately, the driver was well prepared and handled the situation adeptly. Otherwise, these guys would have been kicking the dust today, but the local soldiers had no clue. The truck carried the US guns used to hunt them. David worked to find the driver gone, so he quickly circled the rundown gas station. While searching, he stumbled upon a corpse, and it scared him so badly he almost wet his pants. He sprinted back to wake Fat Dragon. Fat Dragon couldn't care less. He said, "What's a war without bodies?" He then hopped out to relieve himself and just happened to see the driver filling up at the pump, while David's wife decided to call him in the meantime. Mid-conversation, he caught sight of armed forces in the rearview mirror. He hung up faster than you could say oh and yelled for Fat Dragon. The usually nonchalant Fat Dragon, upon seeing the enemy's stance, took off faster than a rabbit because everyone knows getting caught means calling it a day. He started the out-of-gas truck like a madman. He slammed the gas pedal to the floor and went careening out, with the driver looking like, "Are you trying to get me killed here?" He threw a gas can and scrambled to keep up. Thankfully the truck wasn't speeding anyway. The driver strained every muscle to climb aboard successfully amidst the relentless hail of bullets fired by the armed forces from behind. With his foot heavy on the accelerator, he shouted at Fat Dragon to hurry up. Thank heavens for the protection afforded by the American forces. This silly duo made it safely to the US military base, and little did they know, they actually dared to cross the infamous triangle of death to personally deliver the handguns. The commander looked at them with newfound respect and without hesitation told them to grab their cash. There were over 100 people in the warehouse, but all eyes were on these two. Sad to say, the commander and the US protectors had bitten the dust all because of those two. And it wasn't pretty. Both of them were now on the verge of finding out what it meant to be the target. These poor guys were practically marked for death, only more chaos looming in their future. Death was creeping closer for these guys, but hang tight, there's more to this roller coaster ride. They were almost guaranteed to bite the big one, but they just didn't see the twists ahead. The future wasn't looking sunny for them, as chaos continued to swirl around. These two individuals, who were already killed, had initially believed they were expanding the modest arms dealing operation. Fate served them a big slice of cake. While putting kids to bed, David checked the site and almost dropped his jaw. So, David quickly called in Fat Dragon. This order was for 360,000 SVD sniper rifles, 1,084,000 JP-30 grenades, 45,000 Socket 2 missiles, and not to forget a whopping 100 million that came in as 47 bullets. The first weapons were wishful thinking, but hey, those AK bullets were totally doable. For this grand order, they struck right into a defense tech expo hoping to rub elbows with some arms dealers, but reality can be a real kicker. Shipping at this scale? Problematic for wannabe dealers like David and Fat Dragon. They had zero capability to handle such a load. Just trying to get the necessary permits hit them like a freight train. That night David tried to unwind at the poker table. To his surprise, he met the legendary Henry. David soon called Fat Dragon. Henry was a heavyweight in the arms world, but had a shady past. He was on the US terrorist watch list, so he had to keep it all hush-hush. Luckily for him, David and Fat Dragon were fresh meat, ticking all the right. He claimed Albania had bullets in spades. 10 cents a pop, and he could take care of shipping too. For the duo, these terms were like hitting the lottery. No hesitation, they were off to Albania to check the goods, and when they arrived, they realized this warehouse was no joke. They had everything, planes, tanks, you name it. The owner told them that the containers up front were packed with AK bullets over 126 million. The German seller offered a box for inspection. These bullets, nearly 40 years old, would still fire after a century, said the owner. Soviet gear lasts 100 years, no problem. Fat Dragon, unbothered, fired rounds outside, then sealed the deal. Back home, they submitted bids just in time. Ultimate bid, $300 million. 5 months later, David and wife at beach, Fat Dragon ran over, buzzing with excitement. He yelled that they had won the bid. Next step was getting through the paperwork and previous financial statements. Since these two flipped goods, they stretched the truth. After Photoshop and forgery, they had a box of documents. When it came time for their final interview, everything looked great on paper to the US government, but the real kicker was the bid way lower than anyone else's. Excuse me, but did you just mention that our currency was simply too irresistible? What exactly do you mean by saying that? Right. How much? You were under the lowest bid by $530,000. What the heck? Everything is just fine here, alright.